A seminar hosted by the Better Hong Kong Foundation in April turned into something of an informal gathering of retired and serving civil servants. They all have a significant role to play in the run-up to 1997. As the drama unfolds on the closing chapter of a colonial government, senior officials find themselves very much in the limelight, caught in a tug-of-war between Britain and China. Will Hong Kong's 180,000 civil servants manage to ride out what's been repeatedly described as a smooth transition? In an interview with the Japanese media, Chief Secretary Mrs. Anson Chan had this to say.
We are stepping up training, equipping civil servants for work in the civil service after 1997. We are encouraging more contacts between Hong Kong officials and their Chinese counterparts through visits, through discussions and meetings.
3 years ago, Tsinghua University, one of the top institutions in Beijing, launched a tailor-made course for Hong Kong civil servants to introduce them to China. Some 300 senior officers from various departments are enrolled in the program.
普遍嘅公務員係對中國政府係冇咁深嘅認識，咁人對一個唔認識或者陌生嘅嘢係點都有個恐懼感啊。認識深咗嘅時候，就恐懼感當然係減少好多。
Michael Wu, Deputy Chairman of the Securities and Futures Commission, had served in the civil service for 17 years before joining the agency 7 years ago. Keith Kwok, Deputy Secretary for Works, started his career as an administrative officer 21 years ago, has been sponsored on training courses at Oxford and Harvard. This is the third time he's gone back to school.
以前嗰啲課程呢，就係主要咧係以一個科目為中心嘅。咁而家呢個課程呢，就係話以一個國家呢係為中心嘅，對我哋目前同埋將來呢理解中國嘅國情啊，佢一個處事嘅方法啊，佢一個觀點啊，係好大幫助。
An administrative officer for the past 9 years, Rebecca Pun feels that the sooner she learns about the Chinese system and mentality, the better.
我自己咧就會慣常用香港嘅觀點去睇中國，咁而我希望可以透過呢個課程咧去幫助去了解多啲國內嘅觀點同埋佢哋嘅立場或者佢哋嘅睇法。
中國的共產黨和其他的民主黨共同來到管理的國家，那麼民主黨的定義是什麼？
就是國民黨啊，就是蔣介石那個黨，到後來啊，認為它叫國民黨反動派。那個黨呢，那當然就不是合作對象，而是互相鬥爭的對象。而民主黨就是肯定的意思，就是它是民主黨派，就這麼延續下來，就是跟我合作叫民主黨派，是區分於那個國民黨那個稱呼，就這麼下來的。
Today's lecture is on contemporary Chinese history. Getting to know their counterparts will eventually help these Hong Kong officials sell their ideas to China.
所以，当我们了解了中国的历史呢，就是将来一国两制啊，怎么搞法，大家也清楚。我们该怎么把香港搞得繁荣，把大陆搞得繁荣，大家都繁荣。
When the discussion touches on the Opium War and how Britain forced China to open its doors, the students from Hong Kong lean towards a Western perspective.
从这个角度来说，这个墙壁的开放是一定对中国来说是好的。
总的来说嘛，还是好的。 比较多，要不然的话，今天我们还是留着辫子的。
The professor denied outright that the Opium War had any positive effects on China.
我不跟你做买卖，自由吧，总有这个权利吧，对吧？啊，我不跟你做买卖，我这样跟你说，你不做的话，我就打你，我就开船队来，因为鸦片战争不是发生在英国，是在中国。那么我的看法是这样，从伦理上来讲呢，我第一个观点就是鸦片战争侵略。
我相信咧係即係朱教授嗰方面咧，就唔係話因為特別為呢個課程咧，而係將一個中國角度咧係擺出嚟，咁將我哋洗腦咁呢個我相信我非常之肯定就唔係佢一個目的嚟嘅，只不過咧係佢一個角度嚟講咧，就係係代表某一方面嘅角度，咁咧就亦凡係事物咧有唔同嘅角度睇法咁解啫。
As senior civil servants return to class, Secretariat officials are making increasingly frequent calls on their counterparts in Beijing.
咁我只希望咧，我哋去完北京行程之後咧，我同各位再講幾句説話。但之間希望你哋各位要放過我嘅慈善啊，好嘛？好嘛，唔該晒。
Promoted to Financial Secretary in September 1995, Donald Zheng admits that he hopes to stay in office for 4 to 5 years, but is not sure if his term can straddle the transition with the blessings of both his masters. Such is the anxiety felt by the territory's top-ranking officials.
我認為如果做得財政司話咧，我希望咧能夠做到起碼有4、5個預算案。呢個咧就係我自己一廂情願嘅啫。最後可唔可以繼續喺97年7月1號以後再做財政司咧，就要在乎呢一個將來特別行政官任命咗之後認為我唔可以適合繼續做啦。咁我又考慮到咁，不如咁點樣方法可以揾得到？有冇中方支持咧？咁。諗亦都覺得咁亦都係無謂嘅，亦都好強求嘅，亦都中方方面亦都冇一個人可以能夠保證都可以繼續咁樣做。在呢個大時代，即係香港做過渡期間，作為香港公務員有份參與嘅時候，係一種好大嘅光榮嚟。即係話呢樣嘢對我嚟講個動力係最大最大。
While some see opportunities during the transition, others have decided to call it a day.
到某一個年齡嘅時候咧，就可以退休。咁咧係我相信我個人嘅安排咧，就肯定可以方便特區嘅首長咁就有得選擇或者
Elizabeth Wong has been with the government since 1969 and has served in the Financial, Lands and Works and Recreational Services branches of the Secretariat as well as in the Social Welfare Department. She was appointed Secretary for Health and Welfare in 1990. According to the Basic Law stipulation for Secretariat officials, Wong was forced to end her career with the government because of her New Zealand citizenship. She's well aware of the concern felt by civil servants today.
佢哋嗰個顧慮咧，就係話點？一方面推動佢認為應該推動嘅政策，第二方面亦都唔會得罪佢個新老闆，即係將來的後台啦。咁佢點即係周轉喺呢個可以話係唔同嘅環境下可以令到有一個生存嘅地方喺邊個縫隙中找尋生存咧，就係照我睇係最困難嘅一個技巧。困境就自己要做一個選擇，你問心無啟咧，定係苟且偷生
？7 months ago, Chen Jiying, director of the State Council's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, asked civil servants to support the provincial legislature. It was the first time that civil servants had to make public their political stand.
我亦都好遺憾，香港嘅公務員系列而家受到不必要嘅挑釁，佢哋要咧就要閉口，要咧就要表態，我覺得係好痛心嘅。佢哋都向我訴苦，就話無所適從，唔知點做，因為佢哋一向都係為香港人服務，困而不黨。不偏不倚，而家要佢哋表態，我覺得係粉碎香港人嘅自尊。
Civil servants have found themselves in an increasingly difficult position since Governor Chris Patten launched his political reforms 4 years ago. On Patten's orders, 6 Secretariat officers tried to sell the reform package to the public, who saw it as a logical development. But to China, it amounted to a standoff, and civil servants started feeling pressure from both sides. By January 1994, the Sino-British wrangle was catching up with senior civil servants. Gordon Su, Secretary for Economic Services, was initially invited as an official guest to the signing of the Hong Kong-China Airline Training Agreement. Just before leaving, China's Aviation Bureau changed its stand and asked Su to attend in a personal capacity instead. But the Hong Kong government insisted that he take part as Secretary for Economic Services. In the end, Sue decided to pay for his own plane ticket and take leave of absence, but the government insisted on paying for what it called an official trip. Caught in the eye of the storm, civil servants remain duty-bound to stand up and defend the policies of the Hong Kong government.
自从这位港督上任以来，政府的各类社会福利开支突然变成了一辆超一流的高速赛车，照这个速度往前开，不用多少年，肯定车毁人亡。
当然，过去几年，因为香港社会的需要，我们在社会福利方面的开支增长率比较其他的高一点，这个是可以理解的。但是这样说会做成一个车毁人亡的情况呢，實在是過分一點。
97嚟啦嘅日子越近嘅時候咧，咁有啲情感更加尖鋭一啲咧，有啲事幹嘅時候咧，就變咗更多人咧就係用一個陰謀論嘅眼光去睇啲問題啦，咁使到咧就係的確確係所以喺公務員體系裏邊，特別咗高級嘅同事咧，就有啲無形嘅壓力係事實嘅。但係我覺得我哋個個都已經知道都係不可避免嘅事實嚟㗎啦。咁如果而家做功夫嘅時候，要的確要下啲苦功，要有好大嘅毅力，要對自己又好有信心先係。
Bill, second reading. Financial Secretary.
I move that the appropriation...
When Donald Tsang presented his first budget on March the 6th this year, most people in Hong Kong thought it was a satisfactory piece of work.
我將目標放喺確保我哋嘅經濟成就得以繼往開來，延續到下一個世紀。
The Chinese government has always shown concern over how Hong Kong spends its money. Tsang not only has to devise a budget that meets Hong Kong's needs with available resources, but also explain to the future host country how he arrived at his targets.
中方理財嘅哲學、政治背景同埋手法程序同香港係好唔同嘅。咁我哋點解要而家已經開始咗去同中方一齊接觸研究呢個問題咧？就係你體會到呢一點。 就知道佢咧就係對於我哋嘅程序唔熟悉，所以我哋嘥咗整年嘅時間，逐步解釋我哋嘅程序係點樣樣，呢個連埋字眼在內啦。
In implementing policies and major projects during the transition, civil servants are already putting in extra hours to explain developments to the Chinese. Wary of Britain's motives, China has been ready to raise questions, causing delays in infrastructural projects involving large sums of money.
點樣去計算呢個嘅價錢嘅問題？呢一啲等等咧，喺香港政府都係一個系統嚟。咁但係呢一點咧，可能需要一段嘅討論咧，係互相認識、互相理解、溝通。咁但係如果喺中英嘅關係唔好嘅時候咧，好多溝通嘅渠道同埋認識咧，就會完全擺晒喺個談判桌上邊嚇。咁然之後，而且無形中咧，大家嗰個語氣咧就變咗一個對立嘅語氣。